Welcome to today's edition of the Rush 24/7 podcast.
Greetings, my friends. It is the all-knowing, the all-caring, the all-sensing, the all-feeling, the all-everything and all-everywhere Maharishi, once again behind the golden EIB microphone, broadcast excellence. Straight ahead for the next 3 hours. The telephone number, if you want to be on a program, 800-282-2882. And the email address, lrushmo@eibnet.com. All right, now look, I know that everybody was, I don't know if they still are, probably are, still talking about the exchange on the Fox News channel last night between, in this corner, Mr. Newt, the Newtster, Newt Gingrich, and over here, Megyn Kelly of the GQ spread of some years ago. And the first Trump debate question last year in Cleveland, and it was fireworks. You know what's amazing about this? Among many other things. You know, I'm a broadcaster, folks. A broadcaster, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, of first and last, I'm a broadcaster. Whatever else I am comes in the middle. And so I watch broadcasting as a business enterprise in as much as I watch it for content and so forth. And I saw something today that interests me. It may not interest anybody else, but I got in here at my usual time, sat down and began the routine to begin the concentrated portion of show prep time, which includes glancing at the TV monitors. CNN did a full 20 minutes on this. CNN had a roundtable discussion with videotape of their competitor, a competitor to whom they are losing big time. They spent 20 minutes essentially promoting Megyn Kelly and Fox News right there on CNN. There is no way, even today, would I ever even acknowledge competitors exist, much less give them a half hour on this program. I don't care what happened on said competitor's program. I wouldn't do it, but they did. And I'm telling you, it is telling, the fact that they did it and had no problem doing it. They decided that promoting and calling attention to what they greatly approved of, they thought it was great what happened on Fox last night. CNN airs it and is begging people to leave CNN and go watch Fox now. That's the upshot of this. But they didn't care. And the reason they didn't care is because they thought that Newt Gingrich got his head handed to him last night, and by extension, they thought Donald Trump got his head handed to him by extension, and then they thought Rudy got his head handed to him by extension. So they were more than happy to subordinate their own business instincts and desire to survive and win. They subordinated that to the objective here of creaming and destroying Trump. Now, I can remember a day, and it's not that long ago, when this wouldn't happen. And if somebody had tried it, whoever runs CNN would have stormed into the control room and said, "What in the name of Sam Hill are you doing?" Now, I know it's a different age. It's a different media era. And we all can conclude here that maybe everybody involved media-wise is on the same side now. Pulling no punches, make no bones about it, particularly when the objective here is to take Trump out, to destroy Trump. It doesn't matter. The media is one rather than a series of different entities that are competing against each other. And that's obviously the way they look at it. But, you know, as an old hand at this, as somebody who's been doing, I'm 65, and somebody who's been doing this since I was 15 years old, I was blown away by it. It just... As I say, I'm an old schooler. There's no way to this. You don't acknowledge that anybody else does what you do. I mean, you know they're there, but you certainly do not call attention to them. You don't praise them at your own expense. But that's what CNN was doing. Now, you can draw your own conclusions from it. I mean, to me, it's, again, I'm not looking at it within the political realm here. I'm looking at it strictly as a broadcaster. And as a media professional and champion, I'm just telling you, it's odd. And they've been doing it all day. I mean, it's not just this one segment. It was a 20-minute segment I happen to see. They've probably been doing it all morning, and they're going to continue doing it all day because they think it was such a a big win for him. So we're going to get to it later on in the program. I'm not going to lead off with it in terms of actually playing the sound bites. If you haven't heard it by now, just hang in there, be tough. You will. We'll get to it. But there are other things that I want to get to. Plus, I know both people involved here. You know, I know Megan. I know Newt. Makes it tough. I've always said it's easier when you do not know these people. When it comes time to talk about what they're doing or analyze what happens, it's much easier. But I know them both. And so it's tough. I will admit this. It's tough. And by the way, I have things about both of them that neither would like known, so I'm safe there. I know them both. But I'm not one of these bleeders. You know, I don't tattle out of school. I don't tell people. I don't give out little tidbits of information. I am an upstanding guy, and I respect confidences and so forth, but I nevertheless must mention that it's tough. When it was pretty brutal. Yeah, it was. I guess it was. Let me just ask you, top of your head, that segment last night, you watched it obviously. Thumbs up or thumbs down? Net positive, net negative for Trump? Net negative for Trump. You think that was a negative for Trump? Did not help Trump last night. Without exception here, folks, every email I got starting I didn't see it. I don't have the TV on. I was watching the World Series. That's how bored I was. Just kidding. I was working. I didn't have the TV on. So I started getting notes from my friends. It's fascinating when you get a note, people tell you something you haven't seen, they create expectations. And what I thought I was going to see was Newt Gingrich mopping the floor with Megyn Kelly. Everybody that sent me a note, oh my God, this is so great. Newt just took her down. Oh my God, it's great. It's about time something like this happened. You should see it. Newt just cleaned up. So I'm expecting when I watch this. And that's not what I saw. From the standpoint, thumbs up or thumbs down for Trump, that's not what I saw. But here I said I wasn't going to get into it. I'm not going to play the audio soundbite. There are other things I want to get to first. We'll get to it. Okay, you want to do it? I don't want to do it now. I want to do it later. I've got other things I want to. Everybody else is doing that. What more I can play it. Everybody else has heard it by now. What more can I add other than the stuff I know about both of them that I'm not going to tell you? That is possibly true, that it's not real until I comment on it. Absolutely. Well, anyway, look, it's also unfair to start, you look at these things after they've happened. It's easy to sit here from afar and say what Newt should have done there, what Newt should have, or what Megan should have done there, what she shouldn't have done. I don't like to play that game. That's why I left TV. I couldn't handle everybody telling me what I should have done after they watched me on TV. I said, you're not even watching what I think I'm doing, so I'm out. One thing first, yesterday we had a little treat for you. We had election night coverage 1980 from NBC. John Chancellor, Tom Brokaw, Judy Woodruff, and David Brinkley. And we dug deeper, and we got Bill Moyers from 1980. He was CBS. He was doing commentary on the CBS Evening News of Walter Klondike back then, and he was part of their special election night coverage. And the interesting thing about this is it's 1980. What is it, 36 years ago? Is that right? 36. Yeah, 36 years ago. And I want you to hear how the characterization of Republicans has not changed. Listen to Bill Moyers and how he's describing Ronald Reagan 36 years ago.
Those of you who might speak Spanish, who might be black, who might be women, remember, said Carter, who's been your friend. And there under the California sun in San Diego at a shopping center, Ronald Reagan was delivering himself of one of those patriotic soliloquies at which he's been a master since his days at Eureka College. Suddenly, hecklers in the crowd started shouting and waving their ERA signs. Reagan took his cue and snapped back, "Oh, shut up." And thousands of supporters roared their approval. Those are the people for whom Ronald Reagan is the apostle of the rollback, the knight who promises finally to slay the dragon of liberal government. Jimmy Carter won 4 years ago as an outsider, and if he wins at all tonight, it must be as an insider defending the status quo. Reagan has cast himself as a sheriff who comes riding into town just in the nick of time, shouting, "Enough's enough."
Does it sound like anything's changed in the way these people see the world? Not an iota. Not an iota. And this guy still has a fledgling, or does he still have a show at PBS? Or does he do specials now and then to call people racists and sexists? I mean, 36 years, not a single variation, not a single difference in the way they characterize Republicans. Look, this is why I always make the point, it doesn't matter who the Republicans would have nominated. They were going to get the treatment Trump's getting. It wouldn't have mattered. You could nominate, they would go out of their way to find ways to destroy Jesus Christ if he could be nominated as a Republican. The Democrats would do everything they could, include calling him a liar, the Bible a fake book, whatever it took. They would scour the historical record looking for children he had fathered. Anything they could do to disprove the gospel, to discredit Jesus. That's who they are. That's what they would do. It doesn't matter. My point is, you're never going to escape. We are never going to escape this kind of media assault based on who we nominate. And I say this because a lot of you never-Trumpers out there claiming that this is exactly what you get when you nominate a guy like Trump. No, it's exactly what you get when you nominate a Republican. Whenever there is any opposition to the Democrats, this is what they do. It doesn't matter. They did it to Romney. I've made this point till I'm blue in the face. They turned Romney, who is mild-mannered, Mr. Gush, can't even get noticed, into the biggest walking Satan, El Diablo, politics had ever seen at that time. And they think they made it stick. So this is why I think Trump has so many people supporting him. He's fighting back against it when most Republicans haven't and don't. So just wanted to let you hear that, see how familiar it all sounds. Also, yesterday on this program, Moyers is gone. His last show, but he doesn't do specials or anything anymore. Surely PBS, when they need to call somebody racist or sexist, they'll call him up and say, here, we've got an hour for you. You want to come on and name whoever you hate now, racist and sexist? We got an hour here at PBS for you. That's what they do. So yesterday on the program here, we had Donald Trump. Donald Trump called. It was the first segment, the last hour of the program yesterday. And this is fascinating. Until the Megan Newt thing blew up, Trump's interview with me captivated cable news. Right up until whenever Newt appeared with Megan. And here's why. You have these media people who followed Trump around for the whole year, and there's still things about him they don't know. As you know, I have spent considerable time here on this program attempting to explain to anybody who wants to know why Trump supporters support him, who they are, what they are angry about, what their grievances are, why they will not abandon Trump no matter what people say about him, why who Trump is outside the political arena doesn't really matter to them, how the movement is actually bigger than Trump. Trump is the vessel for these people. I've gone to great lengths to explain it, and yet there are people who have followed Trump around who claim that they learned something yesterday in this interview that I did that they didn't know about Trump. And they convened roundtable discussions on the cable news networks last night to discuss. I also didn't know this. While I was sitting at home minding my own business, focusing on other matters, I get a note from Cookie saying, my gosh, you won't believe this. You're to talk at cable news again. So she told me what it was about, and I said, okay, fine, I'll check the soundbite roster in the morning, which I did, and I have here. So the first example is Sarah Murray covering Trump every day for over a year for CNN. This is last night on the Situation Room, Wolf Blitzer's show, but here is the bite.
He did an interview with Rush Limbaugh that sort of gets at the push and pull behind Donald Trump, the fight between what his advisors want him to say and his instinct to fight back. Take a listen.
I would rather, Rush, fight it, even though most people say you shouldn't do that. But if you fight it, at least you're telling the truth. At least the word is out that, you're innocent of these charges or stating you're innocent. But other people say stay on jobs, stay on Obamacare and repealing and replacing it, etc. So I guess there's two theories. I would rather fight it, but everyone says you shouldn't do that. Just go along.
Now, this gives you an idea of why Donald Trump has repeatedly hit back.
So it was news to them. They had no idea. Because they thought that Trump was fighting back because he's a narcissist, that Trump's an egomaniac, that Trump can't stand to be criticized, and that Trump is incautious, and he will throw common sense and campaign smarts out the window in order to defend himself against these charges. It's very undisciplined, they said. It's very uncharacteristic of a seasoned politician. It's very destructive. He's not helping himself do it. They had all these explanations for it. Again, looking at it through the prism of standard, ordinary, everyday politics as they know it. Now, after the interview, I made a point, and this is really why they understand this. They didn't pick it up themselves watching the interview. They picked it up from me because I made this very point when the interview was over. I pointed out to everybody, did you notice what he said here? Every one of you who has emailed me or called me has told me that you want me to tell Trump to stick to the issues, to not get sidetracked by all these attacks and the need to defend himself, that he's falling prey to all this stuff, that he just stay focused. And I reminded people that what they heard Trump say, that his advisors are telling him just that. And he's ignoring them. He admitted that his advisors are telling him not to do what he's doing, but he's doing it anyway. And then the news was that he's doing it to protect his family. He's doing it to protect his reputation and to get the truth out. He doesn't want these charges to settle in for any time at all. He wants to refute them immediately as they happen, because in his opinion, they're all lies, and he doesn't want lies about him to settle in and become the historical record. And that's why he does it. And that's what they claim they learned yesterday, all these people in the media. They thought he was going off message because he doesn't know what he's doing. They thought he was going off message because he's undisciplined, and it wasn't that at all. That's why they think they were really educated yesterday. I'm looking here at the latest snapshot at Real Clear Politics. Real Clear Politics, all the different polls that they publish, their Real Clear Politics poll average overall, the four-way RCP average with four candidates, favorability ratings, live betting odds, the Electoral College, Real Clear Politics electoral map, battleground states. Folks, there is... I'm just telling you, every down arrow here is next to Hillary Clinton's name. The blue arrows. If you go to the Real Clear Politics page, they update every day, or every time a new poll updates, they add that to their averages, their rolling tracking, whatever. And then they change the direction if it's up or down. And Hillary is down everywhere but in Ohio, but yet Trump is still plus 1.1 in Ohio. Yet Hillary is showing upward movement there. This is, remember now, it's an average of all the polls. And then if you want to see each individual poll, you can do that too. But this is the average that I'm talking about. So what's going on here? See, is it as I predicted, that as we near the election, the polls will tighten to more accurately reflect reality? Because up till now, the polls are simply a tool, a weapon, to shape public opinion. More in a moment. There are you. Welcome back. Rush Limbaugh, the cutting edge of societal evolution. State of Florida, Bloomberg has Trump up 2 points here in Florida. Now, you might say, well, so what? Well, Obama won Florida in 2012 by 1 point. You know that? I think. I might have to be double-checked on this. But I know that Trump is up by 2, and Rubio is up by 10. Marco Rubio's running against somebody named Patrick Murphy. And he's up by 10 points against somebody named Patrick Murphy. This wasn't supposed to happen. Remember, Trump was going to destroy every Republican down the ballot. Trump is so bad, Trump is so destructive, Trump is so damaging that the entire Republican Party might not even exist after Trump gets blown out. In fact, the Washington Post had a story yesterday, and all of the never-Trumpers out there just glommed onto this. They were so excited. Here's that story. Amid lagging polls, Trump stops holding high-dollar fundraisers. Here's the story. Donald Trump's campaign said yesterday that it has scheduled no more big-money fundraising events to benefit the Republican Party. Another sign of the GOP nominee's struggling campaign and a serious blow to the party's get-out-the-vote operations with less than 2 weeks to go until Election Day. And the never-Trumpers are just saying, see, he's so selfish. See, he doesn't care about anybody himself. See, excuse me. Let's first explain what is standard operating procedure. For those who may not know it, standard operating procedure is that at the tail end, well, actually throughout the presidential campaign, the nominee does fundraisers to benefit the party. Hillary is still doing hers, but in many cases she's using surrogates to show up for her. The party gets, I think, 20% of the take at these particular fundraisers. Now, the Washington Post says here the consequences of halting major fundraisers will compound the challenges facing a candidate and a party already straining to match Hillary Clinton's much larger and better financed operation. Unlike Clinton, who has an extensive turnout operation of her own, Trump and many other GOP candidates down the ballot are relying heavily on the Republican National Committee to bring voters to the polls. And they claim Trump pulling out with just under 2 weeks of these fundraisers. The Washington Post is trying to say this is Trump being selfish. This is Trump thinking only of himself. This is Trump not caring about the party. This is sure sign the party is going to go down the tubes, down the ballot. It's just incredible. We've never had a reprobate like Trump. We've never had an ingrate like Trump. I mean, that's the whole tone of the story, which is why the never-Trumpers liked it. And do like it, and why they're out there promoting it and saying, see, we told you so. Aside from a couple people at the RNC, just what has the Republican Party done for Trump? And I'm saying this as an observer from afar here, but how many Republicans are out there claiming they're voting Hillary? How many Republicans are saying there's no way, no matter what, no how that they can vote for Trump? How many Republicans are out there not even seeking to know the truth about all these sexual abuse accusers? Where are the fact checkers on these women, by the way? There aren't any. Betsy McCoy makes that point in the New York Post today. Where is the standard operating procedure? Somebody shows up and accuses a Republican nominee of something. Where is this vaunted opposition research bunch that gets into gear to try to dispel? I don't see a lot of assistance forthcoming for Trump. I don't know that this has anything to do with why he's decided. I'd rather think that what Trump is doing here, you can look at this two ways. And the never-Trumpers are looking at it as he's given up. He knows he can't win. And so he's already planning payback. He's already thinking about getting even. And so if he's going to lose, he's going to take as many Republicans down ballot with him. That's the way they're looking at it. The way I interpret this is that we got less than 2 weeks to go, and the objective is to win the presidency, not raise money for the party. And I think the focus here is going to be on campaign events designed to get out the vote, designed to persuade people to vote for Trump rather than fundraising dinners. You tell me what you think here is going on. But this is an example of the kind of barrage that Trump gets. You get a story like this in the Washington Post that nobody on our side even chooses to question in terms of its motivation. They just accept it, hook, line, and sinker, because after all, it's the Washington Post. And you have the never Trump population on our side who is eager for him to lose and eager for him to be humiliated. So a story like this that can be spun to portray him as selfish and greedy and not wanting to share is right up their alley. But what if all that's going on here is Trump saying, you know what, you may have done it all this way in the past, but we're down to less than 2 weeks here, and I don't have time to go out there and do all this fundraising. I'm doing as much as I can for the party as by doing what I'm doing. It's not me not supporting the party. It's the party, in some cases, not supporting me. I mean, this could get down in the weeds as far as you want to take it. But I find it fascinating the way people are looking at this. So Trump's up 2 in the Bloomberg poll in Florida. Marco Rubio is up by 10. Neither are supposed to be happening. Obama, we think, wins Florida. We could look it up. It wouldn't take any trouble. Went Florida by 1 point in 2012. So, and by the way, there was no recount asked for, despite how close it was. So, and then the things that are substantive today to focus on, I must tell you that this Obamacare story is it. It's everything that we are up against. It is proof positive of the guaranteed implosion of this country and our economy and failure of the Clinton administration if she wins. Obamacare encapsulates all of it. The abject lies to get it passed. The lies after it began to fail. And now the undeniable, out-of-control cost increases. And you want to know how these are being dealt with? Democrats left and right, it's a bump in the road. Okay, so there's some premium increases. It was never going to be smooth as silk. Oh, no, you people don't get away with that. You promised everybody $2,500 a year premium reductions. You promised everybody the moon here. You told them if they liked their doctor and plan, they could keep it. You promised everybody, a lot of people thought you were promising them free health care or free insurance. You promised a lot of things, and you led people to believe a bunch of things that were never going to happen. So now the bumps in the road. And look, let's make another acknowledgement here. There are even some people who are coming forth and saying, Rush, you're not quite right. The Obamacare plan was not designed purposely to fail to get to single payer. These people, Obama and John Gruber and whoever else, they actually thought this would work. That's what everybody's missing, Rush. They actually thought command and control healthcare and market economies by a bunch of theoreticians from the faculty lounge would actually work. And they're as shocked as anybody that it isn't working. There is that prevailing view. I don't care which. Whether this is designed to fail to facilitate single payer and national health care, or whether it's just plain old incompetence and out of touch inability to know what happens in markets, the bottom line is these people do not know what they are doing. The Democrat Party that thinks they can run every aspect of your life, from your health care to whatever it is you drive and eat and drink and where you go to school and what you learn, there is no evidence they can do better for you than you can do for yourself. And there never has been. They don't have any expertise in anything that happens in the economy because they have never worked there. They are always in academia or government. They are always sitting on the outside of all the action, looking at it and criticizing everybody doing it, claiming they know how to do it better when they've never done it. Barack Obama doesn't know the first thing about how hospitals operate, how doctors operate, how trauma centers operate. He doesn't know the first thing about the medical device business. He doesn't know the first thing about anything. He's never worked in it. He didn't go to school to learn anything about it. Neither did Hillary Clinton. And yet we're told that these are the two most qualified people ever to make all of these plans and set up all of these arrangements for us. Why? Because they care more than anybody else. And they've worked their entire lives caring. Well, I'm sorry. They don't know diddly squat, and it's right in front of us. The other thing that's right in front of us is this WikiLeaks business. You realize if journalism today was as it was back in the 1970s, we wouldn't need WikiLeaks. We had Woodward and Bernstein, who did, back in the 70s when Nixon was the target, exactly what WikiLeaks is doing today. The thing that's changed is that Woodward and Bernstein did not consider themselves defenders and protectors of the state. Woodward and Bernstein thought they were there to blow up the state. They were there to prove everybody in the state was a lying SOB. And that's because Nixon ran the state. Today, the drive-by media in no way wants to hold the state, people in government, accountable for anything. The only enemy in America today is the Republican Party and the conservative movement. And that's it. That's the sole focus. And you will not find Republican or conservative fingerprints on anything that is going wrong in this country today. You will not find their fingerprints on Obamacare. You will not find their fingerprints on this disastrous economy. Well, I take that back. You know, that's not actually true. There have been a lot of Republicans voted for all this spending, I must admit, because they didn't want to oppose Obama for reasons that you and I all understand. They were afraid of being called racists if they did. Point is, every bit of information anybody would need to run as fast as they can away from the Democrat Party is out there. Now you move over to this email scandal and what WikiLeaks continues to release and what's out there to know. And that is Obama lied through his teeth when he said he didn't know that Hillary was using a private server. And we know that everybody working for Hillary and Obama knew that he was lying because the latest dump of documents and emails from WikiLeaks indicate that the whole modus operandi was, quote, to get away with it, unquote, from the White House on down. The express purpose of why Obama was lying, and there were people at the Hillary camp who knew he was lying. People on the Obama side knew he was lying, worried about it, trying to find ways to protect both of them. We're dealing with genuine, full-fledged corruption and sleaze, and it's out there for everybody to see. And the question is, how many people are seeing it? And I happen to think a lot of people are, because I don't think that drive-by media is succeeding at suppressing all this. They are keeping it off of ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, and the New York Times, admittedly so. But there are so many other outlets that are vomiting this stuff out there each and every day. We'll see. We're not that far away from learning. I got to take a break. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Documented. Okay, well, Obama wins Florida by less than 1 point in 2012. 0.9. He was up over Romney. Trump up 2 in Florida. And again, Rubio, who was supposed to lose, because everybody down ballot's supposed to lose because Trump 2, remember. Rubio's up 10 over somebody named Patrick Murphy. Now, about these emails in the WikiLeaks continual dump here, we now know, folks, that in just 10 days after Cheryl Mills said they would have to clean up what Obama says. Obama's out there saying that he found out about Hillary's private server like everybody else did. I found out about it when I'm reading the news. And Cheryl Mills and everybody, no, because they knew he was communicating with her on her private server using a pseudonym, a fake name. So everybody knew he had lied. So they panicked. And the WikiLeaks dumps show us that just 10 days after Cheryl Mills said they would have to clean up what Obama said, in other words, find a way around his lie, Obama reversed 3 decades of White House policy when he ended freedom of information access to White House correspondence, including emails. The White House had been honoring Freedom of Information Act requests for 30 years, but Obama ended it 10 days after it was fairly confident he had lied about not knowing Hillary was using a private server. We have an email exchange between a top Hillary aide and Podesta from the day of the New York Times revelation of Hillary's email server in March of 2015. And in this exchange, they are wondering why Hillary didn't come forward sooner about her secret server. And the aide, a woman by the name of Neera Tandon, answered her own question. She's asking the question, why didn't Hillary come forward sooner about all of this? Answered her own question by saying they wanted to get away with it. Let me translate what I just said. Some of the sounds that get in the weeds. There's an email exchange between a Clinton aide and Podesta. And the subject is, why did Hillary go so long and not admit this? Why did she? And the answer from a Hillary aide is because they wanted to get away with it. Bill and Hillary, the Clinton camp, wanted to get away with breaking law. They wanted to get away with having a private server outside the State Department. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the entire historical summation of the Clintons since we have first heard of them in the late 80s. They wanted to get away with it. You know what the left-wing spin is on the Obamacare story? It's not a big deal because it doesn't affect that many people. The 25, 30, 80% premium increase is not a big deal. Most people get their health care at work. It isn't going to affect them. That's their spin, and they're going to stick with it. Mr. Snerdley tells me not a single call from anybody asking to hear Megyn Kelly and Newt Gingrich mix it up. Still no calls on that. My instincts right on the money again. Okay, there we go. Greetings and welcome back. Great to have you with us, Rush Limbaugh. The all-knowing, the all-caring, the all-sensing, the all-feeling, the all-concerned, the all-everything Maharishi here behind the golden EIB microphone. Telephone number 800-282-2882. The email address lrushbo@eibnet.com. All right, look. Still no phone calls, Mr. Snerdley. Now, this is anecdotal evidence. We don't take nearly enough phone calls here to make any kind of projection over what audience opinion is. You know, folks, let me give you a little inside baseball statistical data. Do you know what the percentage, and this has been documented with phone company research and all, I will admit it's research that predates cell phones as a predominant tool. So it's probably 10 years old rule of thumb, but I bet it hasn't changed much. Do you know what the percentage of any talk show audience is? I don't care what size the audience, unless you're, an audience of 10 or you have an audience of 50. But, I mean, it's a significant audience. Do you know what percentage of that audience even tries to call in? It's 0.1%. Try. Do you know how many people are trying to get into this program right now? We know those numbers, too. Like 150,000 people are calling right now. This is a massive audience. 0.1% is a large number. Do you know how many people we talk to every day here? Maybe 10. Max, good day, maybe 15 or 20. It's not very many. That's why when the drive-bys in the old days of this program, what do your callers think? I said, it doesn't matter. I don't talk to enough of them to know. You can't extrapolate what people say on my program into any kind of public opinion. What I say here is what counts. No, what do your callers saying? So I make it up and tell them that they're saying exactly what I'm saying, just to get the message out. So that's why I'm as a caveat there. Even though Mr. Snerdley hasn't answered a single call, but no, we don't answer 150,000 calls. No. That's how many people are calling and getting busy signals. Well. That's how many busy signals there are. We don't know how many actual people, but I doubt that people are trying on 3 different phones at a time. You never know. Point is, just because we haven't answered a call from somebody saying, you got to play the Newt Megan bites, doesn't mean that some of you out there don't want to hear it. Everybody else has played it. You've heard it by now. I can tell you what I think of this without playing a single soundbite. You ready? Here's if I had found myself in that interview last night and everything happened exactly as it had happened, and Newt had asked her to say the words Bill Clinton, sexual predator, and she came back and said, well, he's not on the ballot, and we've covered that story, sir. I would have said the woman who is on the ballot enabled her husband as a sexual predator, and that is much more important than what Bill Clinton did at this moment in time. Yeah, Clinton's not on the ballot. He's going to end up back in the White House if she wins, and therefore the place is going to be subject to the same kind of corruption, except over on the East Wing where the vice president's office complex happens to be. But that's not the point. If these people in the media want to keep bringing up Trump and sexual predation, if they want to keep bringing up the fact that women are not safe because of Donald Trump, well, then neither are they if Hillary Clinton's around. Because Hillary Clinton enabled her husband. Hillary Clinton defended her husband. Hillary Clinton then searched and destroyed the women who came forward to accuse her husband. And the women who were on the verge of coming forward to accuse her husband were threatened, were intimidated with all kinds of horrible things awaiting them if they did it. We even have on tape Stephanopoulos talking to one of them about her future, what it would be. He was talking to her and giving her her choices. The woman on the ballot for the Democrat side is just as guilty because when her husband was engaged in this kind of predation and disrespectful treatment of women, she enabled it. She made it happen. She made it possible for him to continue doing this. That's the story here, if you ask me, because Hillary is on the ballot. The media is not going to change the way it talks about Bill Clinton. Just isn't going to happen. And even if they did, it's not a game changer. It would satisfy some of us who are sick and tired of Clinton's getting away with everything for 25 years, but it's not going to change anything. But what could change something, since women seem to be the focus of this, I mean, Megyn and all these other females in the media want to try to warn every woman out there that women in general are not safe if Trump gets to the White House. On the other hand, Hillary Clinton, because she's a woman, she can be trusted. No, she cannot be trusted. Hey, Hillary Clinton's incompetent. Hillary Clinton does not know what she's doing on anything. Hillary Clinton wouldn't be where she is if her name wasn't Clinton. She doesn't have any standalone achievements, stand-out achievements and accomplishments that in any way recommend her to the presidency. The only thing she's got is First Lady, who was given a bunch of power in exchange for her keeping quiet about her husband's sexual predator behavior. And she exacted pounds of flesh after pounds of flesh. She got control of Hillary Care, the first thing out of the box, and she botched it big time and has assured us that she's going to go back and try to change and improve Obamacare by adding the Hillary Care concepts that she developed. And they were disastrous. They were so disastrous, the American people overwhelmingly rejected her health care plan when she fronted for it back in 1992, or 93 and 94, or whenever it was. It might have taken up the whole first 4 years of the first term, but she doesn't have any qualifications. There's major achievements. Boy, she cares. Children's Defense Fund. It takes a village. What she is known for is the Bimbo Eruptions Unit. What she is known for, and the reason that she has been nominated, is that she saved her husband and thus saved the Democrat Party by agreeing to defend her husband and go after the women, and not just the women. She went after the entire conservative movement and blamed us for what her husband was doing. It was the vast right-wing conspiracy. That, to me, is a story. Now, it's easy to say after something's happened and everybody's watched it, you know what I would have done, but that's what I would have done if I had found myself in that circumstance. And I have found myself in that circumstance with people when I talk to them out there or with people who've called the program. You know, equating Donald Trump and Bill Clinton is an exercise in attempting to force the media into reporting and discussing things they don't want to report and then claiming victory if you pull that off. But I don't know how it helps anything. But Hillary and having a bunch of people who do not know the history of the 90s learn it and learn her role in it. You know, there's another interesting thing, too. I saw a story the other day that something like 99% of all money donated this campaign from Silicon Valley, 99%'s gone to Hillary. 99% of the total. I'm not talking about PACs and big-time fundraisers. I'm just talking about employees and maybe CEOs, but these are the donations that max out at like $2,700, whatever it is. The $8 million total from employees at Silicon Valley, like Google and Apple and Microsoft. Well, Microsoft, I guess they got a Silicon Valley office. But, you know, the tech industry. And then I saw the reason is the H-1B visa program. They all have bought hook, line, and sinker that we need open borders and immigration for high-tech, brilliant high-tech, accomplished engineers to be able to immigrate to the country. So then I decided I would try to look and see what Hillary's positions on the H-1B visa are. You know what they are? She doesn't have one. She hasn't said anything about the H-1B visa program that I can find. Trump has a policy statement on it. He's got 2 or 3 paragraphs about what he would do and deal with and change it, reform it. What Hillary, not a single word. And these dolts in Silicon Valley are giving their money to her anyway, assuming, because she's a Democrat, she must have the right answer on these things. She hasn't said a word about it. Those are the kinds of things that she's benefiting from, and those are the kind of people I think could really benefit from knowing exactly who Hillary Clinton is. Now, maybe they would look the other way. Maybe they are these people, maybe a lot of Democrats are of the frame of mind that anything it takes to beat conservatives, we will support. So if Hillary Clinton had to destroy a few women, it was worth the price. And they may be of that mindset. I think many of them actually are. But I don't think enough attention has been paid to Hillary Clinton's role. If Trump's so-called sexual predator nature is something the media wants to not let go of, then the way to deal with it is not to bring up Bill Clinton. I mean, you can bring up Bill Clinton, but you have to bring up Hillary. You have to let people know her role in this. If women have become innocent victims, if women running around today are unable to protect themselves, if the picture that we're painting, if the caricature we are creating is of women that are helpless, waifs, who are at risk of predator men throughout the busy day, then we have to somehow involve Hillary Clinton in that recipe in truthful and honest ways. That when it came to defending and protecting women who alleged that they had been abused or even raped by her husband, those women were nothing but scum who had to be dispatched and just swept out of the way. That's what I think should be the focus. Rush, it's been tried, and it just doesn't stick. Well, the media is not going to let go of this Trump women thing. You guys are just better own up to that. They think they're onto something big, and they're not going to let go of it. It's not. It's not going to turn Trump supporters away from him. This is what they don't understand. Well, maybe they do. Maybe they're trying to freeze the undecideds. Maybe they're trying to freeze people who might be inclined to vote for an outsider just because they're fed up with how the elites and the insiders have just ruined practically everything or done great damage. So they're trying to put brakes on that kind of thinking. I don't doubt that's the case. That's why Hillary has to be brought into this. Okay, let me take a brief break. We'll come back here. We've got some sound bites that have happened since the program began. I've got my regular roster, but I want to get started on the phones, because if I don't, I'll keep putting it off like I did yesterday, and I need to get to you people sooner so that you're not waiting on hold as long. As I check the email during that obscene profit break we just had, Mr. Limbaugh, what does it matter when Obama canceled Freedom of Information Act requests? What does it matter? Actually, I'm glad you asked. I should have explained this when I made the observation. Obama had to end Freedom of Information Act access to presidential communications. If he hadn't done that, there were only two ways to keep the Obama and Clinton emails buried. Remember now, Obama lied to the nation about a lot of things, but this particularly when he said he didn't know she was using a private server until he found out, like every one of us did, on the news. But it's an out-and-out lie because he was using it. He knew she had a private server. He was using a pseudonym so that he wouldn't be discovered, and it was a way around sending classified information, ostensibly. So if they want to keep that secret, there's only two ways to have done it. They would have had to designate every email between Obama and Hillary as classified, and that would have been a confession that not only Hillary but Obama himself had been unlawfully transmitting classified information over a non-secure system, which everybody even now is denying happened. So they couldn't do that. That would have been admitting they were guilty, and Comey would have had no choice. There would have been intent out the wazoo. The second thing they could have done was to invoke executive privilege, and they weren't going to do that because that's what Nixon did. That's what Nixon did in Watergate, to try to bury incriminating evidence there. And as we learned in the Supreme Court's Nixon ruling, the invocation of executive privilege cannot shield evidence relevant to a grand jury investigation or a criminal trial. That, again, is why Obama's DOJ never opened a grand jury investigation and had no intention of turning this into a criminal case, because there was no way to shield the evidence. Nixon tried and got blown up. So he had to end Freedom of Information Act access for the first time in 30 years, and it didn't raise a red flag anywhere. And the whole purpose of it was to not get caught. In fact, there's a great piece here today that runs at thefederalist.com by Tim Amundsen. And the headline, "If the media investigated Hillary like they did Watergate, we wouldn't need WikiLeaks." All in due course. Here's Alicia in Voorhees, New Jersey. Great to have you. You're up first today, and I'm glad you waited. Hi.
Thank you. I have 30 minutes on my lunch break. I listen to you for 30 minutes a day. I want to first real quick tell you, I don't watch Megyn Kelly anymore. I need a good job. I don't have a good job. I am literally making the same amount of money I made in 2004, and I'm capable, and there are no jobs. So she's not giving me the information I need. I don't want to hear about this mess anymore. I want to work. That's what I want. But that's not why I called. I wanted to tell you, I went to the Newtown, Pennsylvania rally, and I want to tell you something from a Trump supporter's perspective, and something I think the Trump campaign's missing, something big. But I was down in the rally, and I went in line at the bathroom. I'm talking to all women, and they're so frustrated. And this fires us up more when we hear this stuff. It fires us up more. But all of them are saying the same thing. I have 2 kids, and I can't afford to make my payment on my credit card. You know, I don't have a good job. They're all saying the same thing, and they're all saying, I'm going to vote, but what more can I do? What more can I do? They're so frustrated. I go into the rally. I'm working the line and talking to all of them, and then I go into the rally, and they're saying the same thing. I'm like, well, what would you do? Would you get an absentee ballot for someone? Yeah, I would do that. Would you get your neighbors to the polling place? Yeah, I would do that. And I say, but no one's asking you to do that. They're just asking you to vote, right? And they go, yeah.
Okay, so, wait. Hold it a minute here. I'm having trouble keeping up. And time is what is the Trump campaign missing?
This is what they're missing. And I pushed my way through the crowd in Newtown, Pennsylvania, and I asked for a member of the Trump campaign, and I spoke to this very handsome Italian man. Anyway, I digress. But this is what they're missing.
Was he a stud?
Well, my girlfriend thought he was.
Yeah.
His last name sounded like marinara sauce. He was very nice, Italian, very nice.
I'll bet.
Anyway, but that's not the point. The point is this. In my view, the Trump campaign has the biggest ground game in American history, in American political history. They're just not tapping into it. They're forgetting that Trump supporters, they're workers, they're doers, they're worried. They'll do anything it takes to get Trump elected. Listen, Rush.
Wait a minute, you telling me that... Wait hang on here just a second, Alicia. Don't go away. Okay, back to Alicia in Voorhees, New Jersey. So just to make sure I understand, your point is that there's tens of thousands of people appearing cumulatively at these Trump rallies, and they are a ground game waiting to be mobilized. If somebody would just tell them that, right? That's what you're saying.
Yes, and I've been trying. That's why I pushed my way through the crowd to speak to the Trump campaign representative, because I noticed the same thing when I went to the Chester, PA rally week before that. No one asked me if I was registered or anything. I'm a project coordinator. I get people
my question, Alicia, is how do these people not know this? I mean,
because they don't. Let me give you an example, Rush. At the Chester, PA rally, I was standing in front of an 89-year-old man who I was just talking to, and I started working the crowd, and I was talking to him, and I'm like, you got everybody voting for Trump, you need any help, you need to find your polling place, and he didn't know how to get an absentee ballot for his sister that lived with him, who was, so I helped him and I showed him how to do it. That's my point. But this is the thing. These people are workers. They're doers. They'll do it. You want a ground game? Just ask them to be your ground game.
Look, I know who these people are. I know them like the back of my hand. They are people whose lives are systematically being destroyed by policies emanating from so-called elites in Washington and New York. They haven't had a raise like you. You haven't had a raise since 2004. So many Americans are in that same boat, and all it takes is to listen to people prattle on about the need for more illegal immigrants to be legalized to do certain work. I've got a story here in the stack that's an editorial writer at the New York Times advocating, one of the editorial board members, advocating a compromise on amnesty that is, it's the end of the country. It's I'll get to it here in just seconds. I know who's in these rallies. I know what motivates them. And I do know that on occasion, Trump has asked his supporters to volunteer to be poll watchers, for example. And then there's a story, the True the Vote people, Catherine Engelbrecht, she was the one of the groups denied tax-exempt status by Lois Lerner at the IRS. That group has written an app for your smartphone that is designed to let you report election fraud when you see it. Well, do you know what's happened? Because of that app, and because Trump has been asking his supporters to volunteer as poll watchers, the Obama Department of Justice, and I've had the story sitting here for a couple of days, the Obama Department of Justice has issued a warning to people, citizens, Americans, about how you can break the law by being a poll watcher. If you report voter fraud and substantiate it by taking photos, you can be prosecuted yourself. The Obama Department of Justice is doing everything it can to intimidate average, ordinary Americans out of, away from, paying attention to what's going on. People from the United Nations, from Central America, from South America, anyone else doing it seems to be tantamount to a hate crime. Because Obama's got international poll watchers, and they're fine and dandy. You bring the UN people in here, Central America, South America, election observers. And that's fine, but if you try it, they are trying to let you know. Have you seen the story that it was never going to happen, might prosecute Justin Timberlake because he took a selfie of himself voting? Did you see that? I have no idea who Justin Timberlake would vote for. I have no idea that. I was surprised Justin Timberlake, well, there was no way they were going to prosecute Justin Timberlake. But they put the story out there that he might be in trouble because the objective here was to intimidate you. And people it's not just True the Vote, there are other people writing apps. And people very, very worried about it. Now, here's the New York Times story. This guy's name is Eduardo Porter, and he is at the New York Times editorial board. And here is his idea on immigration reform. Now, you tell me what you think this is. Maybe the answer, writes Eduardo Porter of the New York Times, maybe the answer instead lies in another direction. He doesn't want walls. He thinks Trump's full of it. Any Trump idea is wrong. That's what he's countering here. Maybe the answer instead lies in another direction. Rather than building a bigger wall, my solution consists of opening a door in the wall that we already have. The best way, he writes, the best way to stop illegal immigration may be for Mexico and the U.S. to create a legal path for low-skilled Mexicans seeking work in the U.S. Now, do you follow that? Maybe the solution to illegal immigration is to stop calling it illegal. Maybe the solution to illegal immigration is we get together with Mexico and we create a legal path for specifically low-skilled Mexicans who want to work in the U.S. And that path, think of it as a real path. Think of it as a legal route or whatever. Because isn't this the objective anyway? Isn't the reason we're arguing about this because we need this low-skilled labor to do work Americans won't do? And we're tying ourselves up in knots. So let's just get together with Mexico and admit that Mexico and the U.S. wants low-skilled Mexicans to be able to come to the United States and work. So let's just say that we're going to make that legal. It's kind of like saying that we are going to outlaw fraud by declaring it legal. Then he says, when I hear secure the border, I think that's great, but it's not the solution. We need laws that enable us to get the immigrant workers we need for the economy to work and do it in a legal way that doesn't require employers to resort to a black market. I take that was a quote from a guy named Carlos Gutierrez, who was Commerce Secretary under George W. Bush. So Eduardo Porter is quoting Carlos Gutierrez in the second part there. He says, this might sound like a giveaway to employers seeking to undercut American workers with cheap foreign labor. Neither major party presidential nominee Hillary Clinton or Trump is very likely to embrace the approach in the home stretch of the presidential campaign, and yet it deserves a hearing. In more than 50 years, it's the only strategy that has worked. So, this, and by the way, if this is the stated opinion of somebody at the New York Times editorial board, I guarantee you this thinking reflects the thinking of establishment thinking and elite thinking. We want those low-skilled workers here. Republicans want them here because cheap labor. Democrats want them here for voter registration. So that's what we're really talking about here. And they're saying we've been sidetracked by all this other stuff. It's really a specific group of people everybody's talking. Low-skilled Mexicans. That's who we want. We need to carve out a path that makes it legal for those people to come here and be hired. And that is what I dare say that any other Republican nominee would have agreed to. The Republicans are on board with amnesty as it is in certain ways. This would be right up their alley. So this is the simplification of a very complicated issue, and this is called immigration reform, but it's not. It's not immigration reform. It's what Daniel Patrick Moynihan defined or used as his example of defining deviancy down. It's when you figure out you can't stop something you don't like from happening, you just legalize it and say it's normal, and you give up. So if you can't stop people robbing 7-Eleven stores, you stop making it a crime and call it progress. Defining deviancy. In this case, if we can't come to an agreement as Americans on what to do about illegal immigration, well, let's just pick out the people we're talking about here and make them legal. And we'll call it reform. And it isn't. It's giving up. It's caving in. And actually, caving in or giving up's the wrong way, because the people advocating this, it's exactly what they want. So we'd actually have to say that this is them winning. But my point is, this is exactly the stuff going on out there, the reason Trump has millions and millions and millions of people supporting him, because the country's being given away. It's about lawlessness. It's about illegality. It's about that kind of behavior being rewarded. That's not how we were raised. That's not how we were taught to behave. It's not what we were taught to honor. And when all of this has a quantifiable negative impact on people who already live here, it can't be justified in any way, shape, matter, form. So then we're left to the analysts trying to tell us what's behind this. And they will tell us now that they actually think it'll work, Rush, just like the current spin on the Obamacare premiums rising. Rush, you're wrong about the fact that they just want a single path, a single payer path. You're wrong about this being a design failure. These people really thought this would work. I don't subscribe to that, because I have, when we come back, some sound bites from Obama himself explaining what the whole game is all about here. So don't go away. Quick phone call here before the Obama sound bites. Things are starting back up again here, folks, as they always do now, each and every day. Marysville, Ohio, this is Tim. Welcome, sir. Hi.
How are you, sir?
I'm excellent. I'm glad you called.
Hey, just some comments concerning Mr. Trump's discussion with you yesterday.
Yes, sir.
I live here in Ohio. We are in such dire need of Republican leadership that it isn't funny here in this state. And Donald Trump represents to me the strength that our Republican leadership needs to have. And it is my belief that if he wants to take Ohio, he has got to keep up the attack. Show no sign of weakness. He can't change his message. He's got there on the attack, and he has got to keep pounding, and that's the leadership that we need here in Ohio.
You mean, are you...
He's not changing his tones.
Well, no, he's not changing his tone at all, but are you reacting to you wish he would stop defending himself every time he's attacked for something by a woman?
No, I'm reacting to him saying, go to message, or do I keep going this direction? Keep up the attack. You know, that's what I'm looking at. Yes, he's got his talking points. Yes, they are excellent talking points. We hear them. But if he lets up 1 minute on his attack, the media will eat him alive. And if he is questioning himself, if he's going to his aides and they're telling him, hey, maybe we want to campaign more this direction and more on topic, it's got to be the attack. I stood there in the
Okay, so it is. You are, because if you're bouncing off what happened on the program yesterday, what I asked him was, why does he keep responding to every allegation from a woman that comes forward and says that he did something to her instead of staying focused on the issues? And he said, my advisors tell me to tell me to ignore them. My advisors tell me, but I can't. They're lying about it. I'm not going to let liars cement what they're saying and have it understood because it's not true. I'm not going to sit there and let people get away with lying about me. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that doesn't get established in the historical record. I'm doing it for me. I'm doing it for my family. And the reason that this made news yesterday is because up till yesterday, everybody in the media thought Trump was doing this because he's a narcissist and an ego freak and is undisciplined and isn't really concerned with winning. All he is selfish and greedy and focused. And when they heard him say what he said yesterday, they now have a totally different take on why Trump is doing it. They were unable to figure it out on their own until I explained it to them after the interview. They really thought that Trump was undisciplined and off message because he doesn't know what he's doing and he's easily baited and sidetracked. And he made it clear that he's making a conscious decision to do these things and his advisors are telling him not to do it. And that was important, too, because I have people you got to get hold of Trump. You got to tell him he's going to stay focused. And I tell everybody that tells me that. If you don't think he's got advisors telling him that, then you need to get up to speed because he does. He just follows his own drummer. His instincts, he just follows them. And if he thinks somebody's telling a lie about him, he's going to pounce on it. And I actually think, Tim, that he has been able to do both. I think he's stayed pretty focused on he pounded Obamacare relentlessly yesterday and last night and into today. And it's fascinating to watch the left react to it. And I'll just tell you what the conventional wisdom reaction to the news that Obamacare premiums are going up 25% average. We learned in Arizona it's 116%. You know what the left is saying? Media people. Well, Trump's missing the boat on this because that's not going to affect all that many people because most people get their health insurance through their employer. Most people get their health insurance at work. And so these premium increases don't even matter. It's not something that a majority of American people are going to feel or care about. And right there, everything is all wrapped up. They don't care about the damage being done to the people it is ruining. They don't care. The left, the Democrats don't care. The substance of these issues doesn't matter to them. Only the politics of everything matters. And they think this is a win-win for Obama. Premium increase is a win-win because it's not going to affect that many people. Which, of course, is BS because it's going to affect all of us because there isn't one aspect of it that's free. Okay, my friends, the fastest 3 hours in media continues to just roll on. They go by there really, really fast. We've only got 1 hour left in a big program today here. And I'm going to try to cram as much into it as I can, including more exciting phone calls from those of you patiently waiting out there behind the blinking yellow lights on our state-of-the-art phone bank. And we'll be right back. Man, I have to share this with you, folks. The other day in the mail, well, I guess it was the mail, doesn't matter. In the arriving stuff, there was this envelope from an inventor out in Irvine, California, and it was for something called a perfect draw. PERFEC, draw. Perfect, no T in there, perfect draw. Look at that guy in Fox. Looks like Ted Kennedy as J.R. Ewing with a black cowboy hat. Look at that guy. Does that not look like Ted Kennedy and J.R. Ewing? I don't know who it is. Doesn't matter who it is. It's irrelevant. I'm sorry to get distracted. Anyway, so open this thing up. For you cigar smokers, what is the number one problem you have? For me, you never know whether a cigar is going to be any good or not till you clip it and you draw on it. And I don't know about you, but 30%, maybe more, of the cigars have to be thrown away because the draw is so tight you get a hernia trying to smoke it. And in the past, wizards of smart have said, Rush, get a meat thermometer and just jam that meat thermometer down there into the cigar, and that'll drill a hole in there. It never works because the hole just fills in. What this thing is, this thing's got, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a miniature bunch of propellers on it. And you screw it in there, and when you take it out, it actually brings some of the tobacco out. And I have so far saved 10 cigars I would have had to throw away. You can even use the darn thing, like the cigar I'm smoking now. I'm halfway through it, and all of a sudden it plugged up. It just happens because the humidity and the heat, things expand, and the draw just got tight. I would have had to throw it away. Then so I got an hour left, so I go get a small one, light that one up. No, I can finish it. Just take that perfect draw thing in there, screw it in there, and then slowly draw it out, bring some more tobacco out, save the cigar for the rest of the show. Now, for us cigar smokers, that is a big deal. And that's why I am mentioning, I'd never heard of this thing. I think they're advertising in Cigar Aficionado, and I haven't seen the latest issue. So whoever sent me this thing, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's $39.95. I just told Snerdley I ordered him one. Snerdley loves the Padrones. The Padrone people are so great. They send me cigars, and they're just the best. And Snerdley loves them. You know, I'll open, they sent us this big box, and I'll open the box, and I'll see there's 3 or 4 missing from the last time I looked at it, and I say, aha, Snerdley snuck in here when I wasn't looking. But I don't care, because I like sharing the things. Who is this? Sid Miller, Texas Agriculture Commissioner. I guarantee you, this guy, that is exactly what you take J.R. Ewing and add Ted Kennedy and his weight to his face, and that's who that guy is. It's uncanny. Anyway, folks, greetings and welcome back. It's great to have you here on the Rush Limbaugh program of the Excellence in Broadcasting Network. Donald Trump was just interviewed. Oh, that reminds me, folks, I admit here I'm somewhat surprised, maybe a little frustrated when I keep hearing people accusing Trump of going off the issues, because he doesn't that much. If your only access to Trump is the media, they can make it look like that's all he's doing is complaining about people that attack him. And it's late in the game, and I'm sorry, I should have suggested this earlier. But some of you ought to really take the time to watch one of these Trump rallies from start to finish. There are YouTube channels. You can do it on Facebook. And not every rally, but it seems like every rally, Drudge has a link. Trump in Ohio, Trump in Pennsylvania. And it links to the YouTube channel that carries Trump. And I would suggest that you watch one front to back. Now, Trump does stream of consciousness. He will remind himself of something halfway through a sentence and start talking about it. But he stays on point. I saw one of these Trump rallies last week, and I even said here on this program that if the media were to cover these things, he'd be leading by 10 points. Because he is on issue, and he is on point and on message. And what he's saying has got his crowds going crazy and going nuts. And when he deviates and starts responding to some of the challengers or some of the critics, be it the women who've come forward or whoever, it's funny the way he does it. It's enjoyable. It's not somebody that makes you nervous, is like he's lost his place and come on, Trump, get back on point. You don't have that reaction to it. Now, if all you do is see snippets of Trump as presented to you by the media, then you're gonna get the impression that he's off message a lot, but he's actually not. at these rallies? Now, we had a call earlier from a woman, Alicia, she was in New Jersey, and her point was that there's an automatic ground game at every Trump rally just waiting to be employed, is waiting to be energized and motivated. And I was kind of surprised. She was saying a lot of people don't know what to do. They don't know how to tell people to go get an absentee ballot or where to go to early vote or register. And that kind of struck me. There's some things I just assumed had been going on. Maybe they haven't been. But you've got, at every Trump rally, you're going to have a minimum of 5,000 to 7,000 people. Whatever the venue is, it's going to be filled. If it's airplane hangar, if it is an arena in a city. And now some of these rallies are 10,000 with 5,000 outside wanting to get in. I just assumed that there were people registering Republican voters at these events. But with that call that we had from Alicia in New Jersey, I'm beginning to question maybe. So whose Mr. Snerdley, whose responsibility would it be? You got a Trump rally, say, in Tampa. You've got, say, 12,000 people. You would think that there would be somebody there registering those people that are not registered to vote. Who would be who's state RNC, the state party, the Florida? Well, that's what I would think too. That's unless they're saying, well, that's Trump's job. I just assumed that all of that was happening. Anyway, try to catch one of these things on the internet. The networks were televising them in toto during the primaries, but they're not doing that now. Of course, they can't do that now. They'd be caught dead doing it now, but you can see them at various links on the web. Now, Trump is in Washington today to participate in a grand opening of his new hotel there. And the conventional wisdom is, see, what an idiot. Doesn't this guy know that we're less than 2 weeks out? He doesn't have time to be doing it. See, just selfish, just greedy. The only thing Trump's doing, cares about himself. I honestly, folks, I understand that reaction, but it's so dead wrong. I can't recall somebody who seems as indefatigable as Donald Trump. The guy is doing 4 rallies a day. The guy is traveling all over this country. The guy is meeting with individual groups, large and small, then going out and do a rally. And then he has lunch and dinner on the day of debates with people, and then goes and does the debate, then leaves for the rally in the next city the next morning. I don't, especially when you compare to Hillary Clinton, how in the world can you say that Trump is not working hard enough at this? I mean, takes the time from his campaign to celebrate the grand opening of his hotel. He turns that into a campaign appearance of sorts, too. What's wrong with that? Again, this is what it looks like when somebody from the outside is challenging. In fact, Dana Bash, CNN, asked Trump about this. She interviewed him at the grand opening of Trump International Hotel, and she said to him, so to people who say you're taking time out of swing states to go do this at your hotel, what do you say? And Trump said, I say the following. You've been covering me for the last long time. I did yesterday 8 stops, 3 major speeches, and I've been doing this for weeks straight. For you to ask me that question is actually very insulting because Hillary Clinton does 1 stop, then goes home and sleeps. I think it's a very rude question, to be honest with you. And then they report that Trump was very defensive. Very, very defensive. There's something else, by the way. Been meaning to mention this all day, and it slipped my mind, but this just jogged my memory. This Megyn Kelly, Newt Gingrich dust up. I mentioned today at the opening of the program, CNN spent 20 minutes on what happened on the Megyn Kelly show on Fox last night. CNN spent 20 minutes, essentially, they gave their competitor 20 minutes of airtime I've never heard of that. Now, I know that the lines of demarcation are different than they used to be back in the old days. But I'm a dinosaur when it comes to that stuff. The competition to me doesn't exist, and you don't talk about them one way or the other. You don't build them up, you just don't mention them. That's the way I learned. That's the way I was taught, and that's what my instincts are. CNN, 20 minutes. And you know why they did? Because in their opinion, Megyn Kelly made Newt look silly and therefore made Trump look silly. So CNN said, we don't care if we're ending up promoting our competitor. The bottom line is we want to smack Trump, and Trump got smacked last night, and we're happy to show it. And then another thought hit me. It's not a new thought. It's something that really bugs me and irritates me, and that is that people in the media consider themselves above criticism. Here's Dana Bash telling Trump and everybody else, man, Donald Trump, he was really defensive when I asked him why he showed up at his hotel. You want to talk about defensive? Criticize somebody in the media. You want to talk about childish immaturity and defensiveness? These people, you're not entitled to criticize them. Why, they're journalists. They're just the messengers. You must be having anger issues if you criticize me. You can't criticize me. Who do you think you are? They think they're above all of that. It's one of the many things about that profession that's always irritated me is they carve out these special places for themselves. And they are experts in dishing it out. But, boy, you turn it around on them, and they can't take it. And furthermore, they don't think they should have to take it. And they're going to punish you for daring to criticize them. Yet they can sit there and try to destroy you day in and day out. Trump gets defensive when asked why he took time off from the campaign to open his hotel. It just goes to show that you cannot count on the media seeing things your way. Even if they do, they won't report it. Rather than see Trump working hard and combining all kinds of... I'd say my takeaway is, and all of this, frankly, I don't know how many of you have stopped to think of this. How many Republicans do you know who would have caved into all this pressure and criticism by now? Just said, the hell with this. I don't need this. And they would have changed their campaign and do whatever necessary to stop the criticism. Trump has not. He has not given up. He has not at one moment acted like he believes any of these polls. And in the process, he's not permitted his supporters to give up. He's kept his supporters engaged and enthused. Some of them may be nervous because of the polls, but Trump is not acting like he's bothered by it. He's continuing to do all these appearances. He's scheduling more of them. He squeezes in the grand opening of his hotel because it allows him to say it came in under budget and on time and early. And this is the kind of efficiency our country needs and our government needs. I guess there's a difference in being a natural pessimist than a natural optimist. Okay, got to hear this. We've played these bites previous occasions, but I want to let you hear them again. Obamacare is on the table, and what it was designed to be is now being questioned. I mean, there's some people like Kevin Williamson, I think is the name, at National Review Online, wrote a piece last night essentially poo-pooing the theory that Obamacare was designed to fail, as it is failing, that it was designed to so as to speed the process toward single payer. He thinks that's an incorrect conspiracy theory. And the alternative, the thing he believes, is that they really designed this because this is what they think works. That they're this dumb, that they are this inexperienced, this incompetent, this unqualified. They actually thought this would work. And either way, I mean, they deserve to be criticized. I do think that it is designed to fail to get us to single payer, only because Obama has said so. And we have a bunch of those times on tape, which you will hear when we get back after this. All right, audio soundbite number 25. This is a montage of then-Senator Barack Obama. This is from the month of November in 2007. He's talking to a couple of different audiences here because it's a montage of comments that he has made about his plans for health care reform. This is 9 years ago, folks.
It is my belief that not just politically but also economically, it's better for us to start getting a system in place, a universal health care system, signed into law by the end of my first term as president, and build off that system to further, to make it more rational. By the way, Canada did not start off immediately with a single-payer system. They had a similar transition step.
It's a transitional system building on the existing systems that we have.
Let's say that I proposed a plan that moved to a single-payer system, let's say Medicare Plus. Essentially, everybody can buy into Medicare, for example. Transitioning a system is a very difficult and costly and lengthy enterprise. It's not like you can turn on a switch and you go from one system to another.
So here you have multiple interviews and appearances in 2007 explaining how his proposal would be an interim step. Can't do it all at once. Can't go, because politically people wouldn't accept it. That you can't go from where we were to single payer overnight. He was warning his supporters, be patient with me. It's going to take time. Keep in mind, he is not knowledgeable on health care or health insurance at all. He's a wonk. He's never been in the healthcare industry or the insurance industry in his life. He doesn't know a thing about it, and yet he presumes to know better than anybody how to reform it, how to make it work, but everything to him about it is political. Here is another montage of Obama, this March 2007, to a different group of people.
I don't think we're going to be able to eliminate employer coverage immediately. There's going to be potentially some transition process. I can envision a decade out, or 15 years out, or 20 years out.
There's no denying that part of the solution in the healthcare arena, as we transition and deal with the legacy systems that we've inherited, will probably require some additional money.
I don't think we're going to be able to eliminate employer coverage immediately. There's going to be potentially some transition process. I can envision a decade out, or 15 years out, or 20 years out.
I happen to be a proponent of a single-payer universal health care plan. A single-payer health care plan, universal health care plan. That's what I'd like to see.
That last is from 2003, when he's just diddling around in the state of Illinois. 2003, single payer. I'm a proponent, single payer, universal health care plan. He's telling audiences of supporters and other academics how he's going to get there. And we're right in the middle of his plan. We're, in fact, ahead of it. He thought it would not be happening till the end of his second term, and we're actually right on schedule. Here he is from 2004.
What I'm looking at is a very specific proposal that would provide health care coverage for all children who need it all across the United States, would allow 55 to 64-year-olds to buy into the Medicare system. And I think that if we can start with children and those persons 55 to 64 that are most vulnerable, then we can start filling in those holes and ultimately, I think, move in the direction of a universal health care plan.
Everything that he's on record saying indicates single-payer universal health care provided by government. It is part of the plan, and it requires Obamacare to fail. You want to hear something that is just, well, it's mind-boggling, but it is just perfect as an illustration of how convoluted things are. This is Chris Cillizza, our old buddy Chris Cillizza at the Washington Post. And Chris Cillizza is he's a nice guy. I occasionally have email exchanges back and forth with him where he will ask me for the conservative interpretation of something when he's not sure of it himself. And I don't think he's ever taken me out of context or misquoted me like most of them have. He's got a piece today, and the headline, this is just incredible in what it admits. In an alternate universe, this Obamacare news is absolutely devastating for Hillary Clinton. And it is, folks. What is happening to Obamacare in any other campaign, you combine what's happening to Obamacare with the state of the economy, and the party in power would be history. The polls would show it. It wouldn't even be close. And the party in power would be scared to death how many House and Senate seats it was going to lose. It's that bad. The economy itself, 94 million Americans plus not working. Unemployment rate, not 5%, not 5.2. It's more like 16 to 20%. And if you go into certain demographics, it's even higher than that. The jobs created are part-time mostly. Millennial college education circumstances, student loans are astronomical. The prospect of paying them back before you can start to acquire your own personal wealth is so far down the road in the future you can't see it. There isn't any legitimate reason for optimism unless you're a hedge funder or somebody with connections on Wall Street where the Federal Reserve has been printing and pumping money for you. But it's bad. And Obamacare, what was promised, and as important as health care and insurance, the Democrat Party has made health insurance. You remember how they've sold it? Remember all these people they would parade in front of us and tell us that they're one paycheck away, they're one disease away from bankruptcy. They're one trip to the emergency room away from bankruptcy. Remember all that? And they have convinced people. Harris Wofford, who ran for the Senate in Pennsylvania back in 1990 some odd, he was the guy who started this whole health care entitlement notion. Well, it actually started in the 60s when they wanted all that Medicare stuff. But he, in the modern era, popularized it by saying, if the Constitution guarantees everybody a lawyer, whether they can afford one or not, then it, by God, ought to provide them health insurance as well. And the Democrats glommed onto that, made it a quasi-constitutional, moral constitutional right. And they created, in the minds of people, this entitlement. And then the way they managed the healthcare system anyway caused prices to skyrocket way out of proportion with people's ability to pay, so that the only hope anybody had for catastrophic injury was health insurance. You know how it all fell out. I mean, health care is something that you can't afford. Catastrophic, you can't even contemplate affording it. And this has all been done by the people who claim they're the experts in fixing it and structuring it. I mean, it's devastating. What they have done to the American healthcare system should disqualify the Democrat Party for a generation. And it would have in any other year if it weren't for the fact that the president of this party happens to be African American and therefore immune to any critical analysis. And if other events had not coalesced at a moment in time where the drive-by media said to themselves that whatever is necessary to defeat Republicans, we will do, even if it means selling out the American people and ensuring that their economy sucks and that their health care system sucks, we will do whatever it takes. And so that's where we are. And so Liza knows it. This guy, he knows it. The news broke Monday. The costs of insurance premiums for those in the nationally run Obamacare exchange would soar 25% on average in 2017, even as the number of plans to choose from would sink drastically. This would be big news at any point in this election. The signature achievement of the outgoing Democrat president appears to be fulfilling many of the doom and gloom predictions Republicans made when the law passed. Costs are rising for many. Major insurers like Aetna are dropping out. And the law, which has never been terribly popular, isn't faring any better in most credible polling these days. For Clinton, now this is where it gets interesting. Look at me. Listen to this. For Clinton, who has latched herself to President Obama throughout both the primary and the general election. This should be a very bad development, very bad. If you wanted to make the case that Clinton represents an extension of the bad part of the Obama presidency, this is a gift of epic proportions. Epic! Here's the problem. Donald Trump is the Republican presidential nominee. Wait a minute. How does that change any of the facts about Obamacare? What does it matter who the nominee is? Why does Trump, being the nominee, change everything Cillizza just wrote? It doesn't change one fact. For that matter, how does Trump being the nominee change any of the facts revealed in the WikiLeaks emails, which the drive-bys are also refusing to cover? Cillizza then continues. He has spent the last few weeks dealing with allegations of sexual harassment from 11 women and a hot mic tape in which he made a series of lewd comments about women. That's not to mention his attacks on fellow Republicans as insufficiently loyal to him, his insistence that the entire process is rigged, and description of Clinton in the final debate as such a nasty woman. So Trump doing all that cancels out the facts of the absolute disaster that is Obamacare. What does any of that, Trump's lewd comments about women, the hot mic tape, Republicans insufficiently, what does that have to do with Obamacare and the facts of its disastrous implementation? What does that have to do with it? What does any of this have to do with the reality that Obamacare premiums are going through the roof? Is Cillizza saying that Trump defending himself from scurrilous sex allegations is keeping the media from covering this? Whose fault is that? Or is he saying, well, I don't care how bad this Obamacare stuff is. The fact that Trump is the nominee means we got to put up with how bad Obamacare is because Trump's actually horrible. Is that what he's saying? Trump, through those and any number of other self-inflicted wounds, has made the election a referendum on him. Is that what's happened? I think it's the fact that the drive-by media and the Hillary campaign have made this election a referendum on Trump. And that was the plan from the get-go. The plan from the get-go was to say Trump is unfit. Trump is unsuited. Trump is unqualified. Hillary's never wanted to talk about the issues. Hillary's never asked to explain any of this. Hillary gets away with saying that she wants to improve and expand health care. Grab soundbite number 24, yesterday, Hollywood, Florida. She was on the radio. Notice I'm not telling you what station, because I don't know if it's mine, so I'm not, that's just me. But she was on the radio in South Florida. It might be my station, in which case I'm missing a chance to plug them, but I'm not going to take the chance because I don't know. Sorry, that's just... Anyway, this is what she said. She was being asked about Obamacare and the mess that it is, and here's her answer.
We're going to make changes to fix problems like that. The president and I have talked about it, and look, this is a major step forward, 20 million people, and actually, I'm sure you know this, predominantly working people, African-American, Latino people now have access to insurance, but the costs have gone up too much. So we're going to really tackle that.
Oh, yeah. She is admitting, yeah, we don't know what we're doing, and we've really screwed it up. And the people of color in this country, they're the ones that really need insurance, but they can't afford it. I talked to Obama about it, and we're going to fix it. Right. We're going to hand over the keys to the people who don't know how to design the car. We're going to hand over the keys to people that have demonstrated they don't know what they're doing. Oh, yeah, I talked to Obama about it. We're going to make sure that African Americans and Latinos, poor people of color, who, by the way, are still poor after voting for us for 50 years, we're going to make sure they can't afford it next year either, because that's going to be the result. Here's Bob in Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm glad you waited, sir. Hi.
Hello, Rush. What a blessing to talk to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
I have been listening for a long time, and Just wanted to call in because you made a comment about the interaction between Megyn Kelly and Newt. And I've been listening to Fox for a while and watching the Kelly file because I really thought that she did a good job with journalism and stuff. But I've noticed a progressive movement in her tone and stuff. And last night really was it for me. I'm done listening to her because interaction with Newt, specifically, when they were talking about stuff and Newt responded, she made a comment that just sparked me and ticked me off. She said, "I am a protector of women," in her comment. And I thought, no, wait a minute. I thought her job was to do the news, not to be an editorialist and protecting women. And
wait. I honest to God, I haven't seen the whole thing. So I didn't see that. She said that she was there to protect women from like predators like Trump.
From predators. Yeah, she said I'm a protector of women. I'm a protector of women, and he's the one that's the predator. And
and that must be when Newt said, "Well, then would you say Bill Clinton sexual predator at the same sense she wouldn't do it?"
That's right.
See, that's when if I were Newt, that's when I would have said, "So you want to defend women by promoting the woman who enabled her husband in his sexual predator behavior." That's what I would have said. But it's easy to say that after the fact. I'm not criticizing Newt. I'm just...
No. The issue that just drove a wedge for me for Kelly, Megyn Kelly, was that here she purports to be a news anchor giving us the news, and now she is communicating. I've noticed the people she's had on, the questions she's had.
I appreciate it. I don't mean to be rude. I'm out of time, and I do have some things to say, but sadly, I don't have the time right now. And that's it for today, folks. Fastest 3 hours in media. And we've got more in 21 hours. Whatever happens between now and then, will be up and running and revved and ready to go. So you be here. See you then.